We didn't start yet. We were just running our mouths pre-market. Let's see what's going on here. By the way, those of you who trade the Bitcoin, I've been posting sentiment in the room in the Bitcoin channel. I don't even know if anybody goes in there anymore. And on private Twitter, there was a nice signal recently. This one too was nice, both for trades. So for those of you who trade the coin, I've been posting more of that. See, here and there I post them. Where is it? So let's see, what do we got going on? Yes. Nothing really going on at the open here, futures. We were down about 6 off the bat. Looks like they bought that up quick. You know, who knows what happens overnight here. All right, so let's get to, now that we've seen the market open, let's get to the overall market, talk a little bit about what's going on. This is a real pain in the ass. All right, so if you're new to this webinar or you haven't been paying attention, if you remember, especially last week, we were focused a lot on being careful, at the least not getting caught up in what would be chop, that things were going to get tougher on to the upside, right? A lot of our indicators that we look at on a day-to-day basis were heating up each and every day that this market was at highs, okay? They still had room, but you know, you don't wait till they get there. A lot of those intermediate term indicators to take some action. You want to be ready. We also, you know, the thing we had in that back pocket throughout this whole rally, positioning started to work against us a little bit. The hedge funds, which it's remarkable when they finally get to the point all in, boom, here comes the pull. You guys saw the chart I posted over the weekend. They're already puking it up. So the good news is we got it, right? Like if you saw, I sent out that tweet with the reel in the fish, right? The process has started officially. It gets easier from here, okay? If you remember, we were talking about the tough part is up here. When you know that that's around the corner at some point, okay? But it can come tomorrow. It can come a week from now. You can get a melt up. It can extend further, right? So that's the tough part because you got to be really careful. It's like you're playing with kid gloves. You don't want to overextend yourself. You don't want to get too long, right? We need to participate. We're degenerates, so we got to participate in some sort of fashion. All right, and that's why, you know, we went over the playbook time and time again throughout the past, I would say 2 weeks. You know, stay tactical. Don't, you know, try not to get caught. Don't hold for that extra follow through to the upside because it's not worth getting caught, right? We pounded that into our heads. So if you did the right thing here, we all deserve to pat ourselves on the back. All right, because if you can avoid this, okay, if you can avoid when you make money throughout a rally and getting caught all in where this wipes out a good chunk of your gains, if you can avoid doing that, that's the right path, guys. That's it when it comes to this game. All right, we talk about it. The riffraff, you know, they go from hot stock picker on Twitter to hot stock picker on Twitter. They want the crystal ball. They want the dude who can go undefeated, who's right all the time, who's rarely wrong. And, this game is not about that, right? You find something to tilt the odds in your favor. But the most important thing is, I mean, for me anyway, throughout my career, is some sort of edge that allows you to manage your risk properly when, you get to a point here where everybody's bullish and still wants to make money, but you have to be the disciplined one and pull the reins here, okay? Pull the reins in. And listen, it's okay if you're caught in stuff and you're going to lose money. It's not about that. You know what I mean? Don't beat yourself up on the point that, damn it, I should have went into all cash if you're not in all cash. Okay? Because each and every time that you're able to avoid this type of pull and you trim down your risk, you're going to get better at it as time goes on. And the truth of the matter is, a lot of it's luck too. If that position popped right before the pull, you might have got lucky and been in all cash, but it didn't, and you got caught with that. So you gave back some profits. But the bottom line is this, okay? And you guys have heard me, and that's what I'm here, just to share from my experience, some of the most important things I've learned in this game, right? And I'm no trading coach by no means. I told you that from day one. But the most important thing is when you make money off a rally like this, okay? Everybody, all the riffraff on Twitter, you can get a orangutan throwing darts. If they go long and they're not stubborn, like some of the riffraff are out there trying to short it and outsmart the market, if you're long throughout this process, you're going to make some money off this upside, okay? But what differentiates the pros from the riffraff, at some point when this rolls over, the pros are going to hold on to a bulk of the gains they made off this rally, and the riffraff, they give it all back. And as this, wherever it stops, if it continues, if it continues, they'll give it all back and then some. That's it. That's the major difference. So whether you're looking to do this for a living, which is difficult, okay, with obviously the stress that comes along with being your primary source of income, but whether you're looking to do this for a living or, you do something for a living and you're passionate about this game and want to make money and be profitable at the same time, that's the name of the game. If you can avoid getting caught all in at the top, right, and you can hold on to even half the profits you made from here to here, you're on the right path. All right, so that's why we talk about the things, and look at the things we look at on a day-to-day basis, not because there are signals every day. For me, it was getting in the mode of it becoming habit, continuously looking at it. Because I remember, like, early on in my career when I was introduced to sentiment, a lot of other people around me who would follow it, they wouldn't look at it day to day. They'd look at it when there'd be a signal, and if there wasn't some sort of reaction off that signal immediately, they'd never look at it again because they thought it didn't work. And they miss, the true value, the true edge that comes from, looking at sentiment each and every day. All right, so I think that's the biggest takeaway from last week, is just pretty simple, cut and dry. We finally got what we were talking about, what we were worried about, what some of the indicators were showing that were concerning us. We finally got it, okay? So now, at this point, what are we looking for? We're looking to find now, okay, not only ultimately where this thing may bottom out, right, and form up and present some solid entries like of this pull, okay, but in between, okay, the in between is where, we need to stay level-headed and we need to be patient, okay, because what happens is the in between for us, because of how active we are, there are trades there, okay, there are trades when you get these bounces. All right, but you just got to be realistic, and you got to know, you got to have an idea of what you're expecting, right? And just be ready for where we're at. You got to have, in other words, I'm trying to get the words to put the right words behind this. You have to have an idea at all times of the backdrop of this setup. Okay, where's sentiment now? What's flow looking like? Right? Where are we, big picture in this thing? All right. And for me right now, coming out of last week, this is what I'm seeing, and then we'll go look at all the stuff we look at, so you guys can come up with your own interpretation. All right. So remember, we were talking about this pull. We finally got it. Now, what normally happens, okay, when you get this, remember, we were talking about how initially what happens, right? They make it so difficult to catch that short. You saw what they did, right? That choppy, it actually started here, if you ask me. This was all part of this whole setup here, right? So if you were shorting here, because it was obvious, right? And you got caught in this, you got squeezed here. That's all this was, in my opinion. And then some more chop and then rolled over, okay? So now we're at the point where you take a look at where sentiment is now and see how much damage the price action has done, okay? So we're going from extreme bullish sentiment. Now we got some selling. And now what we're starting to see, right? We're starting to see our short-term indicators start to flash green, okay? Because of the price action and the help of news, thanks to the Donald slapping on tariffs, okay? Which is not even unexpected. Everybody was talking about that throughout, a week or two of this rally. It was just getting ignored then. It was just getting ignored then. So now, ultimately, he slaps the tariffs on. It adds to the negativity of the bearishness out there. And, we were talking about this Friday. We came into Friday that any weakness would set up a high probability squeeze play. Okay. And the reason being, all those short-term indicators we look at got stretched. Okay. And what that tells us in simple English, that all the bulls up here, right? Nobody wanted protection. Everybody had to scramble, sell, put on protection, right? Tactical bears now looking to play for some more downside. All right. So that ultimately sets up, you get a low here. And then I'm trying to show, let's see an example of it in the past. It ends up, kind of like that sort of thingy, right? You get a little bounce like right there. Let me show you. Let's see if it happened in the past somewhere. Hold on. Like this, kind of like that. Okay. Now, you see here the difference between, just to give you guys an example, you see the difference here. It happened quicker than here. This was a little slower in the slip, and sentiment didn't get buried up to that stage right here. Okay. We're already there now, all Friday's action, as you guys know. All right. So this is what I'm talking about, what usually follows. Okay. Sometimes it's not even as long. And in other words, time-wise, sometimes you'll get, 1 or 2 days of this where they snap them back hard, but it's only for a day or two. Okay. So the play there, okay, the play here now, and we were talking about this Friday, but if you're just tuning in, was to play for that short-term squeeze where they keep the bears honest and frustrate bulls who sold into the lows. Okay, so now what creates that? Shorts that were a little too aggressive, they need to cover. The smart money who was short, locking in some profit, they cover. And that's what creates that relief, that rally. Okay. more of stability, I should say. All right. And then ultimately, what we see, okay, sometimes quick, sometimes they get drawn out like I just showed you. And then what we look at from that point, and we'll wait to that point to really like zone in on it. That's where, you take a look at where we are as far as sentiment's concerned and really pay attention to what the flow may be signaling, okay? Because what will happen is if there is no buying, right? If you hear me crying that there's no new buying out there, right? There's no quality action out there. There's no aggressive sweeper activity out there. The likelihood is they roll it over, at least test the lows. And listen, we could even, let's say we go lower Monday. That could happen. We could go a little bit lower. Okay, but it's still the same type of setup where it's a high probability squeeze because they're leaning. All right. But I'm just giving the example. If we put in the lows on this initial pull, okay, we come back, we test that level, and put sweepers could grab the ball, one more leg south, or they come in and buy it, right, and we bounce from there. And what's important too, besides the flow, which we're going to be looking at already, is where we are as far as sentiment's concerned. Okay, because a lot of times, forget about price action, because that doesn't really determine the sentiment. Okay, if you get a snapback rally short term to, like, let's say here, a lot of that sentiment stuff, maybe the short term stuff, end up cooked at some point again, meaning too hot, right? Too far extended to the upside. All right, so those are the things we got to be careful about and keep an eye on. Okay, but ultimately, in my opinion, the sweeper activity will tell us what they have in mind, big picture. Okay, whether they're staying short-term, tactical, squeeze type stuff, or they're buying, into this pull for possibly a new leg higher. Because that could happen, right? Automatically, you see already, barons, everybody getting cash. It's that time of year. Everybody's just assuming now, right? Mike Wilson now, who nobody wanted to pay attention to Mike Wilson because he was wrong. And Mike Wilson's a smart dude, okay? Everybody's wrong. But Mike Wilson and Morgan Stanley, nobody wanted to pay attention to him, what he was saying the whole past couple of weeks when he was calling for a 10% rally. Now that the price action is showing weakness, now everybody's calling for that correction. So it wouldn't surprise me if they took things higher. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. All right, so that's where we got to keep an open mind, and the signals that we look at each and every day already will be telling a lot more now than here. Why? Because we know here, right? Each and every time the market will push the highs, bullish sentiment will be too hot, right? The flow likely is bullish. No, probably not much of any new buying. They're probably chasing the same names. So in my opinion, the signals we pay attention to every day really don't provide much of an edge, besides telling us, be careful. I think in this climate, that's where it really sticks out. That's where what we pay attention to on a day-to-day basis really will stick out. All right. The tough part, though, as you guys know, the tough part is being able to see through the mess out there, right? See through the Trump tweets, see through what you may feel and think personally of what the market may do. See through what everybody in the steam room and the chat room think the market may do. That's the tough part, where you got to put the blinkers on, block all that out, and try to listen to what the key signals are telling us. And I think if you have the ability, if you're capable of doing that, exactly. That's my number one indicator, Stephen. you will be able to at least get a handle on, all right, I should look to start to buy things into weakness here, all right, because the wise guys are starting to pile some stuff up. Or, the flow's just not there, and I got to stay quick, remain quick, and I really got to pay attention to sentiment. If I'm playing the short side, right, I don't want to short in the hole when everyone's all bared up. So those are the things we got to pay attention to now. All right. But like I said, from what I'm seeing over the weekend, okay, I'm seeing a lot of short-term stuff that we usually see near a tradable low is starting to light up. Okay. Not the major bottom stuff. Okay. But the problem with the major bottom stuff is, for this market to pull here and rally, the major bottom stuff doesn't have to flash green. So that's the tricky part. Okay, the major bottom stuff could get back to neutral and we go back to new highs and just continue. All right, but anyway, the good thing is this. The good thing is everything we were concerned about at the highs, they chewed into. That's the beauty of this pull already if it ends right here. Everything that we were concerned about got punched in the face. All right, and we'll look at that now as we go into, and I'm kind of all over the place sentiment-wise in these charts, but that's all right anyhow. We'll look at them together. So here's the time of year, okay? And a lot of people are talking about this. We were talking about it before I hit the record button. When I was a broker, when I had to manage client money positions, I used to just August used to be my month to raise cash, no matter what. And the reason being, when you're managing positions, you can't be as nimble. Everything I just told you right now is all fine and dandy if you're trading your own account, okay? But to be as nimble with client money and getting them on the horn when you need to make a move, I couldn't do that. So I used to just go totally in cash. I used to use the month of August to raise cash and take it nice and easy through that and September and then see where we were, okay? And the reason why, it's right here. This is why. I couldn't care less if the market would rally in my face that 1 year. It didn't bother me because I knew for clients that if I avoided this time of year, I would make my clients money, right? Because I'm not shorting into any of this other stuff. So if I didn't get caught with huge positions for clients in this time of year, I was okay. So that's why you guys have heard me say that in the past, I would just avoid this time of year. But like Ani was saying, it's probably prudent, right? It's probably prudent when you're entering this time of year to be more cautious than you normally are if you're trading your own account anyway. All right, because the numbers are right there, right? And, a lot of people are seeing it, okay? A lot of people are seeing it. A lot of people are talking about it. So for us, there could be a rally to get people not to focus on this anymore. You understand? Just like the point I made to you earlier with sentiment. There usually would be a fake move before a major move if there was one. Anyway, but this is why a lot of people are talking about this time of year being rough, okay? Let me start here. Stuff that was worrying us, right? Remember this was one of the biggest concerns, right? This was up at that 95% bulls, right? We'd get a little breather, it'd come down to the high 80s, and then what? Another rally up to 94% bulls. So it kind of was keeping a ceiling, right, on any major run or any really juicy risk reward upside play for us, because these things were hot as a pistol. And now, look at where we are, okay? 52, 61, washed out, done. Mission accomplished, case closed. Would it be nice if ultimately this sets up and flashes some bullish signals? Yeah, that'd be great. It doesn't have to, though. Okay, it doesn't have to. All right, so that's that. We'll talk about some of the other things on here in a bit. I know, well, crude, I know you guys are interested, 55, neutral. Gold, still hottish, well, hot, 91% bulls in gold after the, the lean hogs, after the push higher. All right. Oh, you know what? Here, look at this. This is incredible. Copper, 6% bulls. 6. That's pretty crazy. Okay. This was a great note from, it came out blurry, but this is from Paulson. But just showing the backdrop of uncertainty out there. We were talking about this several times throughout the year. Trump being president, right? So this is global economic policy uncertainty, right? And it measures that. And Paulson had a note out Friday saying that this is bullish. You know what I mean? There's nothing else you can say about this. This is bullish that this is up here like this. You know, and he flashed times where, you know, even while Trump was president, this thing was a lot lower, and that's where markets were a mess. But when you have this thing up here, you know what it tells? It just tells us here, this is the key word. Players are constantly nervous about something. Always nervous. Let's get to the put the calls, because they got moving at the end of the week. Especially the equity put the call, people slapping protection on to individual names. That's your equity put the call. Okay. Anything up here in the darker green, that's a panic signal. Okay. And, you know, the lighter shade green is just massive hedging and protection. All right. So you could see the May lows of that recent pull in May were a little bit different, where we banged our heads, you know, into this lightly green territory there. And you can see this one had a nice whoop thrust into it. Okay. But this is one of the short-term signals that are indicating that, you know, a squeeze should be around the corner. Total put the call, not as drastic, but if there's, you know, a little more volatility here, probably get up there. You know, and that's the logic behind, if we do, let's say, stabilize here a bit, right, and bounce, and then if it's not a long period of time, we revisit, you know, we test that low or we break through that low. You know, the logic is these things are going to be up in panic territory, and that will be, you know, a major bottom signal. All right, so that would be the benefit if we don't squeeze hard and these things are still hanging around here. Tim, where are you? This is the put the call version Tim likes. So you can see how quick that happened. All right, went from watch your back to now, you know, start to look for a squeeze. Just like that. Happens quick. Nuts. Oh, here, I got Nova Ursa. I got both of them on here for you. All right, here's the Nova Ursa crew, right? You can see they, besides that initial swing from short to long, you know, minor little blips where they added longs. They never really wanted to get too bullish. You can see how skittish they've been. And then, you know, first signs of weakness, whoop, let's get net short. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And here, it was more of an intermediate term time frame. And again, one of the things, right, we were a little bit concerned about, we were talking about, right? You don't want to see this up here. Washed it all out. All gone. Let's get back to this here. Another one. This was another one. I'm showing you all the ones we were concerned about first. The smart money indicator. Okay. And remember, we were banging our heads right over there, right? Now, this was the last sell signal or be careful signal we got. And look, you know how they washed those guys out. And here, nice move. All right, so we're neutral. That's where we are now. Neutral. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like this, to get up here, one, there's probably going to be some crazy volatility and decent selling. But when you get this thing here, you know, you get some major buy signals. You know, like this was late last year, which was pretty rough. And you can see got here, market squeezed, right? Then came here, then we sold off, then back in there, squeezed. And then this was ultimately the December lows. All right, but normally, you know, you get a correction, this thing pokes its head in there, and that sets up a major bottom. Oops. All right, so neutral there. There you go. This is breadth, mixture of breadth and sentiment here. This is for the NASDAQ. So you can see where we ended up. And I blew this up so you could see some other pulls. You had two here. There was one low where we squeezed off of, and then another low there. Those were the two. You know, this one, light shaded green. Most of them led to nice, this is a major bottom, you know, led to decent squeezes. You know, the majority of them led to decent squeezes. Yeah, the lower got some major bottoms, obviously. Now, so you could see already how much damage was done, right? Here's a fear indicator. All right, no fear whatsoever out in the markets, and we're there. This one set up that low. These are on private Twitter and in the market updates if you guys want to take a peek. You know, this was a major low here, a lot of fear. That was the bottom. Everybody was scared shitless there. But you can see even these, right? These just intermediate squeezes, whatever you want to call them. Short-term squeezes, tactical squeezes. Gotta watch my clicking. All right. Where are we here? Oh, these guys. What a beautiful thing, huh? This is the hedge fund exposure. All right. So now, look at this. And that's what you see it, you know, we see it in the price action. You know, we see it right in front of our eyes, them puking. Right? It's pretty obvious. Because if they weren't, you would see that little melt down. You know, this trickle down weakness where bears don't get revved up. When these guys are selling, you know, it weighs on stocks. So that's, you know, that's where, again, we want to keep an eye on this thing. And, you know, it's going to coincide with a lot of the other stuff we're looking at. But, you know, for these guys, we want to pay attention to where this thing is and what the price action looks like. You know, remember what I said. If markets are holding up well and these guys are getting out, that would be extremely bullish. You know what I mean? Unlike if, you know, let's say they're not, well, they did, but let's say they weren't making a dent. They weren't making a dent. They weren't really coming out of much, and we were seeing things start to unravel. But usually when these guys get out, you're going to see that volatility anyway. All right, so little by little, but this is what we were worried about on the hedge fund chart. Okay, and just to clarify, if you remember, it's not when they're buying that's the problem. When they buy, it helps price action. Okay, what we're worried about when we see them buying and we're like, oh no, and what we're worried about is eventually, exactly, there's no buyers left. When they sell, especially with liquidity these days in the summer, they can weigh on markets. It's just like here. The difference here was they bought this dip. They thought they were smart. Buy the dip. And they got caught. So now they got caught and they got to get out when they just bought. And this is what created this mess in an illiquid time where it was the holidays. So it's good. So far, so good. Okay, so far, so good with this. But so you guys know that's what we were concerned about. So in the future, we looked at that already. All right, so this is short-term trader sentiment. Actually got there, literally right there on Thursday. But then, exactly how I look at it. The way I look at it, a lot of guys like to jump shark, which I guess it's up to you. But for me, when this thing gets into the green, I look at it as now going into the next day. Any further weakness, you want to look to try to buy something. You understand? I know some people who get really aggressive, and if they think it's there without even seeing it, they'll buy into that weakness. But the way I look at it is once it's there that next day or days to come, you want to look to buy into weakness. Playing for that squeeze. And for a trade, just a trade. The put the calls we looked at. This was the only one. Well, I can't say it didn't make a big, maybe not as big as a dent as I thought, but still, yeah, almost like the smart money indicator. Back to neutral, under neutral, whatever you want to call it. And this one, remember, this one wasn't technically in hot territory over here, but again, we were worried any further gains, right, then we'd be in trouble. That's where a lot of them were if they weren't cooked already. So this is in a lot better shape. Okay, let's get to some of the Sharpie stuff. No big changes there. No big changes. Let's see, where am I here? You like that for the hedge fund chart? Come on, that emoji's not fitting right there. That's exactly what they did. Let's see, where are we here? Here it is. All right, so this is smart money hedgers. You can see they're pretty much in no man's land here. Nothing going on. This is through Thursday, so Friday's action is not included in this. So I think next week's update will probably be a lot more interesting. Where is, oh, you know what I want to show you guys? One more thing, hold on, to go along with the smart money hedges. Small specs. That's where they are right now. All right, but they're not too far away, right? If we do get one more leg to the downside eventually, these things might, slam right to the bottom again. Again, Friday not included. You can look on the chart here. See this? So where we would see movement is not included in this update because it goes Thursday to Thursday. So that's why next week I think is a bigger update. So we're gonna have to wait on that. And here are some of the individual plays, smart money. Here's the VIX. Again, did an update, but if you remember, smart money buying VIX, riffraff shorting VIX. That's been going on, so that may unravel. That's why, if you ask me, here's the tricky part. This is like the McElliott. What's the other guy's name from Barclays? I don't know if you guys know him, but this is where they look at the positioning and try to get a gauge on things. Like McElliott and that crew are looking at basically, call it 2,900 as a level where if there's more selling through that, okay, what a lot of these quants are going to need to do, they got to take down their risk exposure and buy VIX. You understand? So that could create obviously more volatility and selling in itself. All right, so that's where that whole quant McElliott crew and that bunch is at right now, that if this thing can bottom around 2,900 and regain traction to the upside, then everything's okay. But if there's some more selling out there, what you're going to have is these, orchestrated quants that are already set up that if 2,900 breaks, they have to take down their risk, lower in percentage, and have to add VIX. Okay, so 2916, I think, is McElliott's number. Yep, 2916. Exactly, Yosti. So, that's something to keep an eye on here as we go forward. And, that's kind of like the blueprint for this thing. Like I was saying, you find a floor, some stability, things cool down a little bit, you get a rally, maybe, traders start talking about, these tariffs, Trump is looking to slap on China. There's a month before they go into effect. It could be like the Mexico tariff situation where he talks about it, doesn't do it, and you get that relief rally. And then come September, you understand? Maybe you get that selling if they do go in effect that blows through that 2,900 number, and you get these guys having to put on more protection and take down their exposure. We'll see. But there still should be some choppiness and volatility swings here that we could still look to take advantage of for trades. You know what I mean? If they flush them, where sentiment's at right now, we want to look, for squeezes into that. Oops, where was it? The VIX. All right, so that's what and this too, you got a lot of people short the VIX. Smart money was buying the VIX. So if things unravel a bit, going forward in coming weeks or next month, things could get a little dicey. What do we have here? This is the Russell, and you can see here kind of nothing really going on. And again, this doesn't have Friday. I repeat, I sound like a broken record. So you can see the Russell was higher off this update, and looks like they just took off a little bit. But you had some selling in the Russell at the end of the week, so maybe they added into that. We got to wait for the next update to see. I don't really think it's as important now, because like I was telling you guys this week, if the market if the market's going to go through a little shaky period, okay, it's all fine and dandy that IWM may be the most bullish of the bunch. It may hold up better, but if you got hedge fund selling and these quants need to take down their risk exposure, it's not like IWM is going to buck the trend and rally to new highs while the Dow, the Nasdaq, and the S&P are getting beat up. So this is, I think, more to keep an eye on coming out, right? If we start to see signs that we're coming out of this pullback, this thing may get hot. So we'll see what the update looks like next week. But I don't think there's any reason to really focus on it yet. Yeah, if you're looking to play squeezes, you could use, play IWM for a squeeze. I did that Friday. Where's this? Did I go to this? Oh, here is gold. And you can see added a little bit here to their short. And it doesn't have the end of the week. Gold closed higher at the end of the week, right? So, this thing, here's the lowest they've been. It almost reminds me of this a little bit here, right? Where they started shorting into this rally in gold. It still, grinded its way higher and then eventually rolled over. We'll see. Or maybe the smart money gets run over a little bit over here. I can't tell you from my experience. I haven't followed this closely enough, these hedgers in these commodities. It'd be interesting to watch, though. What SPY calls? Joey, I bought August monthlies. That's all I know. I forgot which ones I bought because my partner in crime put it in there. But August monthlies. I was contemplating how far out to go and stuff like that, Joe. But I stood with I didn't want to go too far out because I'm just playing for the squeeze. And I wanted to give myself a little bit of room because, like I said, if we get weakness, Joe, tomorrow or early this week, I'm likely going to add to those. James saying bought August 9th. So you stayed shorter. I mean, would you average down in those, James? In other words, let's say Monday, Tuesday. Oh, all right. So then that's okay. That's okay. I think I showed everything. What's this, Russell? There was one more I thought I had on here. And the other one was copper. It looked similar to last week where they took a little bit of their longs off, but again, doesn't include the end of the week. Yeah, and that's why, listen, we want to take it nice and easy. The problem is if we do get into one of these little corrective phases, besides intraday action on the swing side, it gets a little tougher. All right. And the playbook, if we do enter that type of climate, the playbook, strictly, find the names that you have confidence are going to squeeze or the ETFs and buy them when this thing's sitting in the green and play for that squeeze, But so that's why it gives you something to do on the swing side. And the thing to keep in mind, listen, if there's further weakness, even if we do get a squeeze and it's short-lived or whatever the case, if there is some further weakness, that's only it quickens the process for that ultimate buy signal. You know what I mean? It gets there quicker. So it's not a bad thing, right? You lose the trade, let's say you lose some money on the short-term squeeze play or, something to that effect. But ultimately, it sets up something better in the long run because you guys know if you're a swing trader, okay, the money is going to be made after this whole corrective phase comes to a close. That's where, especially like individual names and stuff, that's where the winners come from. So what you start to see, even as the market, hasn't rallied yet per se, you start to see the names like SE and PAGs and all those names that start to catch action. They don't do much because the market's weak, and they keep hitting them and hitting them. And that's the sweet spot entry with a little bit of time. That's where the money's made. And then as the rally extends, right, there's more bullish trades, obviously. So if you're a swing trader, you don't want to get too hung up on these type of short-term squeeze trades. In other words, you don't want to stick your neck out and get too aggressive on these things. If if that's your bread and butter swing trades, you want to try to make some money playing for squeezes while possibly something bigger and better sets up. That's, if I can explain it any better, I would, but that's generally what we're looking for. That's generally what we're looking for here. How much weakness will it take and all that stuff, who knows? Because listen, even if this thing ends here, okay, so let's say it does end here, okay, let's say this thing goes a little bit lower, bottoms out, and then boom, big squeeze, okay. What happens is, if you play the squeeze for the short-term squeeze, you're going to make some money on that trade, and the likelihood is sweepers are getting aggressive in names. There'll be some nice setups there, okay, so you're going to make money there no matter what. Right? You want to be patient and let things line out. You don't want to fight. You don't want to fight the price action and the environment if it's against you, is what I'm saying. So you take a nice and easy day-by-day approach, see where we're at. But this is where, and another big thing, guys, earnings, right? Another big week of earnings out of the way, thank God. And hopefully now the flow starts to clear up. Because even those of you who like to play short intraday and stuff like that, now you can pay attention to the board. And if you see all put sweepers there, the likelihood is the momentum is to the downside, and you can play some shorts. Now with earnings, we had in earnings, it's a travesty. You can't get a handle on anything. Long term here, Sean, I haven't looked at anything long term yet. Two things. One, I was waiting for the pull, more importantly, right? That's what we wanted because we were concerned about that. And two, earnings to get the hell out of the way. So now, because the reason for that is now you can have a clean handle on the flow, right? As we get more through earnings season, we still got some names out there left, tech names, software names. But as we get through earnings season, any big action, any aggressive action with some time behind it is going to be legit. And those are the names you want to focus on, especially if we're in a drawdown like we're in now. That's where all these big winners come from, man. You think of all these big winners, they all come from a pullback or a correction where they started buying aggressively and they just kept coming back and buying and buying and buying. And those are the names, you look at it, the market's awful, it doesn't do anything. So, you have a tendency to ignore that action, but that's the action that you want to pay most attention to. You don't have to buy it right away, but those are the names you want to keep an eye on, because usually those are the best names to own. Usually the best name. What is this Bollinger Band? I think it's just a Bollinger Band with colors. Was it called JLK? You think I know? Looks nice though, no? Usually Bollinger Bands, you have those lines on the screen, they make me dizzy. I like the coloring here on the black. And it makes me look smart. Let's get to some names quickly. I don't know if you guys have anything to do, but I missed 2 days of the week last week, so I didn't get my full fill of the market, That's why I could talk shop here till we fall asleep. This was Friday's action. Here's a name, Sean, that I've been wanting to buy a dip in this name forever, and I never pulled the trigger on it. Texas Instruments. You know, it's just such a beast. I mean, you know, it's just a giant. And if you remember, like the big correction, like, look at this. What a gift. When the semis, nobody wanted to touch these things. This, you know, this is like blue chip. So, you know, these things got hot, and you saw the earnings. Basically, the interpretation I took away from the earnings is that the worst may be over. That's why it gapped up. It wasn't, you know, their numbers were incredible. It was just basically the tough part may be over. And if you want to own Texas Instruments, you got to own it now, because if things improve in the second half, you're not going to be able to at these levels. So that's why, like I was talking with Zich, if you want to be long of this name in the second half, you got to buy this dip. I don't think you can take the chance, you know, and wait for even lower prices, because I mean, you might not get them, you know, and if anything, you got to add if it comes in more. It's a little trickier up here, but at least it could work out that gap, right? Yeah, this TXN is, you know, legit. That's a good point, Maria. You got NVIDIA and another semi reporting this week, Sean. So something to keep an eye on. I don't know if you want to stick out your neck if you're interested before that. You know, maybe buy a little bit, if anything, and then add, you know. Maria, do you think, does Texas Instruments, is that like lined up with NVIDIA enough to where you think the flow would have been tied to that? Like if NVIDIA really poops its bloomers, TXN would be affected enough? I'm sure the whole group, right? Yeah. The flow didn't look to me, Maria, like it was a play on NVIDIA earnings, but I could be wrong, you know? You know, maybe they said, oh, the IV is too junked up in NVIDIA, and if we want to get long, we're off the NVIDIA earnings, maybe TXN post earnings, right? You know, you had this September bet, it was pretty nice. And then this August was opening sweep too. Pair of nice sweeps. I would definitely keep an eye on it. Yeah, I would definitely keep an eye on it. NVIDIA important because it's less ties to China than others. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, that's the problem with earnings, guys. But we're almost done with it. You know, little by little, we're getting there. CRM, yeah, it's tied to earnings, obviously. They tied it right to the date. And you got a nice dip there, but would it surprise you this thing bounces before earnings down here? Wouldn't surprise me. Yep. You know, and very quietly, this thing has been in, you know, we were talking about this, remember? Consolidation. This thing has been just choppy sideways with some nice ranges. And the lower end of this range, Ranchero, right, has been money, even if you're a bit early. Every time. So even though it's earnings flow, you know, understand it's earnings flow. I wouldn't go bananas on it. But if you like trading the name, I can't blame you one bit. And you got some action there. And this name I would keep an eye on. I didn't like that. Well, IV was down because the stock was down bad. But this Etsy here, you have some time behind it anyway. November's. They sold this hard. But, you know, I say sell it hard. Look at the stock. You know, it's nothing. Back to the bottom of the range there, too. So caught some size. November activity, this Etsy, and worth keeping an eye on, you know, see if they come in, maybe hit some shorter dated strikes to give us a heads up that there'll be some movement short term. Otherwise, it's probably more market than anything else. Juniper, I just don't like Juniper because I'll tell you why, Ani. It catches action, and it seems like it never goes anywhere too far. And you know, I know it's a target, takeover target. It's been that way for a while. I'm just not a big Juniper fan. You know, the action wasn't anything spectacular. It was bullish, but nothing jaw-dropping for Juniper. Juniper, I've seen even bigger action in that thing. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those networking names. Now, I used to say the same thing about Sienna, and then that finally, you know, became a better stock. But Juniper, you know, you want to see it happen before anything else. Now, that's another name. You know, here's the problem with these names, guys. Okay, the problem with these names, if you remember, we've been talking about them. They're crowded, right? In other words, there's a lot of bulls in these things. They've been buying these things, it seems like forever. So that's why, if you remember, even these names were seeing action into the rally. I couldn't buy them. Okay. And now the problem is here, the order flow with time, you know, you just got to understand you may be underwater on these things. You know, there's a lot of longs in this, a lot. All right. I think what you're going to see with these things for now is if you get the market squeeze, these things squeeze with it. You understand? It's going to be more based on the market than anything else. I like it better that it's come in a bit. You know, I like it better that it's come in a bit. I would keep an eye on it before I do anything drastic. You know, maybe you want to start a position, you know, dip your toe in, see how it looks, see if any more buying comes in. But it was decent action in that now. This now has caught some, it doesn't catch a lot of sweeps, but when it catches a sweep, catches some decent size. This one, and what was the, oh, Vive. That's another one that catches similar order flow. These two, they've both been animals. Which one was the niner? The now? A lot of them, Joe. Yep. A lot of these things hit that niner. Boop. All the hot names. Amazon, I think. You know, they caught like their second niner in a short amount of time span, and that's where they all just went south. So yeah, like here's another one too. Amazon. Like if we see one of those good-looking Amazon sweeps off this pull, you gotta look at it for a trade. No, off a pull like this, you got a decent pull here now. Decent pull. Xilinx. August to November and now. Yeah, I think that's the smarter play, Deepan. So you could catch a decent move for that name. I think they're going to squeeze hard. It's a matter of how underwater you're going to be. But, you know, it wasn't squeeze flowing now. You know, somebody is buying with some time there. So it's different. Xilinx, same thing. Who mentioned Xilinx? Luis, same thing. Yeah, you got a nice little pull here off a niner. They all look the same to me for the most part, these names, the higher names that are cooling off. You might get green niners here, guys. You know? Like, look, Monday's going to be day 7. You might get green niners on some of these things. Let's look at now. What's now on? 7, you're going to have 8 Monday. You know? So you might get some green niners in these things. Has this thing ever had a green niner? I mean, this thing has, oh man, here's the last green niner. I was ready to say, there haven't been too many green niners because these things have been beast. Look at this green niner right here. How about that entry? Joey, is that a nice entry or what right there? How come, Joe, how come I can't have an entry there with a nice size position and catch this move like this? How come that never happens to me? Unbelievable. You know, look at this entry, like, yo, seriously, right? Like, think about this entry in now, right? We all know now, we know it's a monster. It's been a monster. You finally get a pull, right? There's a green niner there. Like, look at that entry. So that's, you know, that's where you got to look for some of these pullbacks, you know? You got to look for in some of these pullbacks. Just don't be afraid, you know, if you're underwater over the short term, maybe to piece in nice and easy. This one was 1, 2, 3 though. See, this is what we would have took though, right? Joey Yost. Look, Joey and Yosty know exactly what I'm talking about. See this rip? I don't care what month I would have been outie. No? When here's what I do, Joe. I'll buy that niner and I'll buy sometime and I'll be like, I don't care. I'm holding on to this thing. Maybe I'll roll, but I'm holding on to this thing. Then I get this rip and I'm like, I gotta take this. Come on. I gotta take this. $30 in a week. And then you look like a hero, right? They make you look good for about a week or two. And then the big enchilada comes. Oh, I'm the worst when it comes to that boy. I don't know if there's any fixing, but I'm the worst. I'm the worst. I remember, I don't know if you guys remember, because it was like a crazy, I know, John, that's the other thing, right? You got to hold through earnings. But if the thing is, John, if you want to hit big winners on these high growth names, you have to, John. You know what I mean? If that's what you want to do, even if it's like on the side for like positions, you have to size down so you're not stressing yourself out. You understand? And you're able to hold through some turbulence. Otherwise, there's no way. Because like you said, where's it going to go? It's just going to go straight up? I mean, it's not going to happen. You know, even this chart here, it looks easy. But, you know, look at this. Initially, you had some decent chop there. Then you had earnings, and then it was gravy. From swingers. And that's fitting, too, because we're talking about swingers. But, yeah, and Yosty rolling, too. You got to have the discipline to put it into action, you know. That's what it comes down to. Like, this was a name you remember. You guys may not remember because it was around the holidays. QSR, this was the Ackman sweepers in December that I wanted to, you know, make sure I have a decent leash on. I couldn't hold it, the initial rally, I couldn't hold it past. Right here, literally, right here. Don't get me wrong, it was a nice hit, but look at this thing. I think they were August, though. These things are going to expire now. But this was the Ackman missiles that they were hitting here into the lows. They were early. They were underwater. This is Burger King, remember? And this stock was a dog. An absolute dog. Yeah, you have to size down to where you're not stressing. And the other thing, too, is, John, we're in front of the screens every day. We see every pull. We see every shakeout. We see every rip and fade where our profits disappear. You know, all that goes and plays into your emotions, looking at all that stuff each and every day. It's not easy to do. But, you know, that's where big money's made. You guys know that. That's where big money's made. You hit one QSR and you're in good shape. You know, you don't want to play every single stock that way. In my opinion, I think you got to wait for pullbacks like corrections. That's one. And, you know, you got to take the best action, or, you know, high growth names that you guys may like, technicals or something like that, that catches action, like that type of thing. You can't, you know, you can't buy everything you play, hold for a big winner. That's gotta be your plan ahead of time. But for me, even when it's still my plan, I still can't do it. So it's not easy. Don't let anybody fool you. It's not easy. So going back to the action, that was this was the top action on Friday. Not a whole lot. Thursday there was the now and stuff like that. But anyway, the flow. I think from this point on, the flow becomes a lot more important just for earnings. You know, being out of the picture. Right now, you got Amazon. Now, if you see an Amazon sweep, you know, one of those sweeps we like with some size, you don't have to, earnings are done, right? FANG is done. You have a pretty good idea that it's a clean bet. This would be a nice spot too for Amazon for a trade here, right? If they hit it into this pull, it's going to be at some point here, this thing turns around and rips. We'll see. Anybody have anything to add? What's he ask? 3? Nah, nothing going on yet. We'll see overnight market. Oh, J&J, good call. Oh, I think Bullstruck mentioned that, and I forgot to respond. Yeah, without a doubt, there's action there. You had a niner there. They may come to this name for defensive reasons anyway. I think there's something. There's news coming on some. Is that done? The appeal and all that? Is there was something coming, it may have came already regarding that lawsuit and all? Oh, it's done. Friday after hours. Interesting. Yep. What was the news? Good? It went their way. So now what do you think it gaps up Monday? Yeah. Yeah, J&J, you had the best order in J&J was the November bet. This guy right here, hold on. Yeah, there was some spec action in it. I think it was Friday, right, Jack? Oh, here, Tim posted it. August 131 calls. The what's going on with the wise guy alerts here? Anyway, there was a November bet in J&J, November sweep, the first one right at the niner, right here, right around here somewhere. It was a pretty decent sized bet for J&J. November 135s. That's it, Jack. So yeah, you know, we'll see how the price actually. I wouldn't go crazy chasing it, you know, but if it's hanging in there, not doing much, maybe get a little dip on it. I think everything now is in play. Everything is in play that's post earnings. The only thing we got to watch out for is like what Maria was saying. You know, you got a big semi name, and all of a sudden the semis are catching, you know, flow around it. That's the only thing you got to watch out for. But I think all the names you guys like, the big FANG names, off pulls, stuff like that, all the post earnings stuff. You got some healthcare that hasn't been doing much. Yes, good call. This was a name I wanted to buy. I got spooked out of it because of they were killing the retail names off the tariff stuff. But this interests me. I'm definitely interested. I'm going to see. I'll let you guys know. I wanted to take a decent size. I wanted to start piecing in to this thing and have a decent size position, or maybe, you know, little calls, a little a little stock. But I got spooked out now because of that, the tariffs, and the retail names got hit the hardest. But that action definitely interests me, and I got a close eye on it. If they come and hit it again, I'm definitely getting in. I don't care what the tariffs are doing. This just reminds me. You know what it reminds me of a little bit? Roku. I know it's got nothing to do with Roku. I'm just talking about, came public, got hot, then went dead, and then we start seeing flow, and all of a sudden, their business is actually legit. Like Roku, I'll show you like Roku, I'll give you an example. See, like Roku here, came public, right? You had the rip, and then got killed. Everybody thought it was done, but their business was legit. Started seeing flow, and then you get this crazy move in this Roku. So this is what this Stitch Fix reminds me of a little bit. And I would like to own something with time eventually. I'll post if I start to dip my beak. But I'm definitely interested. ABBV. Oh, what? They really beat the stock up, huh? Wow. This was a high flyer. Let me go on this screen. It's easier to see on the daily. Wow. My goodness. They beat these names up. Listen, it catches action. I would wait for action. I would wait for legit action, Sometimes you'll see a little sweep like we saw before earnings. But when they want to hit ABBV, they can hit it with size. If they do, definitely squeeze material. Merck caught a couple on it, nothing huge, but I had a couple bullish orders, MRK. Moon's talking Boeing. Yeah, looks interesting too, Moon. I mean, do you own it or are you looking to buy it? You could get those spec sweeps. You get those little spec sweeps. Once in a blue moon, they hit it with legit stuff. But I like the spot. That doesn't mean it has to bounce from here, Could roll over. But I like the spot. Yeah, had a couple of sweepers come in. What was it? Was that before earnings? I don't remember. Boeing. 350s monthly. Was that post earnings? I didn't even realize that. Yeah, take a look. And listen, you like the name Moon, it's not a bad spot. Not a bad spot. And again, if we get a squeeze, you probably get a squeeze with the market. Nate's talking Kroger. Yeah, there's been a little buying in all these food names. I don't think Kroger had any news. I know Kraft, which has earnings, had what happened? Had the fake meat news. What is this? Kraft. What's the symbol of Kraft again? KHC. What the hell am I doing? Thank you. Look at this debacle. It's kind of like the Kroger. These things have been annihilated. But yeah, KHC had fake meat news. And they have earnings coming up. The Kroger, I didn't see any news like that, and there was a little bit of flow recently, maybe playing off that. I'm not sure. Definitely squeeze material, but they've been dogs for a while, you know? Maybe buy it with some time. Is that what you're looking to do? Oh, I think you mentioned that, right, Nate? You bought it with some time? If you got time, you might get lucky with these things. Overdue for a squeeze. Let's see, SFM. Yeah, they all look the same, huh? They all look the same. Jesus, this whole sector got destroyed. Yeah. What about, like the other names didn't even come in. You still have earnings, the hot names. SE. Oh, I'm going to look at PCG now, Tim. Look at SE. This thing didn't even pull back. Can you believe this? Didn't even pull back. New highs. PCG, what happened? It had earnings, didn't it? I thought. Oh, that looks good over there. So earnings were a non-event? Well, now you could pay attention to the flow again. At least play for squeezes. Does look good. CGC. You got earnings coming up, right? Is that what I see here? August 14th, Ani, but that could be wrong, so don't hold me to it. You know what I wanted to mention, Moon? The names like Boeing, for example, if you could trade that, I think like, for example, it's going to be more reliant on the market, I think, on the overall indices, right? So I'll give you an example. Like if, let's say, we're playing for a squeeze, right? That's where we're heading into next week. We want to look to buy, right? Things into weakness to play for a squeeze. Boeing, I think, fits that bill. If the market squeezes, Boeing, the likelihood is we'll squeeze with it. There is a chance it catches news and it doesn't. That's the risk you take with individual names. If you don't like that risk, play the ETFs, but just understand that we're in a climate now where the markets, the indices rule a lot, No matter how good Boeing looks, if they're taking down risk in the overall markets and they're selling and the VIX is pushing higher, I don't care how good Boeing looks, the likelihood is Boeing's coming down with it. That's the point I'm trying to make, Moon. So a lot of this stuff over the short term, I think you're betting on the market with some of these high beta names. Where, you're not always worrying about that as much, right? Because the market, a lot of times, if you're not in this climate, may not do anything. But Boeing, you can see some outperformance in, right? Get some alpha in it. I think now you're relying on the market more. You know what the trade is here? Here's the trade, I think, that if you have the patience and time, you would salivate over, but I don't think for us, any of us, we can put it on and sit through it. The reflation trade, I think, is where there's huge money longer term, possibly. You know what I mean? As far as upside. I posted this chart. Look at this. Like, you talk about catch up or unwind, all right? Deflation. It's been all about deflation. Look at this. A decade of deflation assets massively outperforming inflation assets. Okay? So here's the thing. You got tariffs, which supposedly are inflationary. You got every central bank all over the world looking to do QE galore again. If inflation starts to pick up, you know how much upside there is on these things, on commodity, on all these inflation type plays? Like, think about it. For 10 years, they've been dead. 10 years. Like, that's the trade we talk about a lot, right? Yeah, everything commodity related, Stephen. You know, everything commodity related. I guess, I mean, is gold in an inflation play anymore? I don't even know. Yeah, Joey, you know, buy more gold chains. I'll start promoting it for you. Inflation's coming, baby. You got to put the sign on the door, on the window. And, you know, here's, Stephen, you know what's funny? Copper is probably the prime ticket for it, right? Copper, like, look at this. You got a 6% bulls in it. Everyone's typing in FCX. You got a 6% bulls in it. But, you know, that's why the stock's been so bad. I mean, the commodity's been so bad. It's been deflation. It feels like forever. Oh, man. This stock can't get out of its own way. Look at this. Well, that's the thing, Stephen. You know, the trade wars are supposedly inflationary, and you got, I mean, it's pretty much a given now, right? Central banks are all in. They're all in. You got to believe that reflation trade is not too far away. You have to believe. You know, but it's easier said than done. You know, it's easier said than done. Look at gold. You remember, Stephen? You, me, Lewis. We were talking in the room about buying gold with time when it was dead. Nobody wanted it. Who can do it? It's not that easy. It's not that easy. But that's where, you know, that's, you're talking about a huge shift of funds and sentiment that, yeah, that's where, like, you know, big guys get paid off of that. It's not up our alley. You do that on the side, kind of, if you want to do it. And you stuck with the gold thesis 3 weeks. Because we're gamblers. What are you going to do? We're gamblers. You know, that's investing, right? It's like speculation / investing type stuff, right? You're placing a long-term bet, but that's where the serious money is made, guys. You know, that's where the big money's made. That's why the short-term stuff that we play, that's why you got to have realistic expectations. You know, everybody wants to make that big, huge hit. That comes with, you need time and patience for that big hit. You know, everybody wants to buy front month or weeklies, for Christ's sake, and make that score and size up. Yeah, that's not where it's at. I mean, there's too much risk in that. You know, the big money's made in this game where you find something, you know, where you know there's not a lot of riffraff. They're on the other side, and you know, you start putting some money to work little by little, and you believe and have the commitment to it. Not, you know, oh, it didn't go higher this week, so I'm done. Because you know what happens? The first down. That's what happened with us with gold. Oh, gold, we should just buy it right now with time. It ticks lower for the first week, and that idea goes out the window, right? We can't be underwater for a week on something we want to put away longer term. Yeah, story of our lives. Yes, Survey Monkey. What happened to my idea? I was going to put that one away into the election. I got a little runner of Equus stock. God bless America. I know a couple of guys out there have it, little pieces holding through the election longer term. But yeah, that was a nice move. That was earnings, right? They beat the street. They beat the street. Let me see what I have on the bottom of my list here. Sometimes I have some interesting names, and then we'll call it a night. See what I mean? If you guys don't tell me, let's hang it up. I could talk shop all day long over here. Hold on. Stitch Fix now. This name caught some big action. You got earnings there. NVTA. This is a healthcare name. There was another name. Chewy had a little dip on Friday. I own that. Some of that I don't have equity in anymore. I have HQY. See if you get a dip in that. That's a software health name that got big action. There's a lot of stuff to watch. This was a nice winner. Anybody make a decent hit off this LK? Well, this was the week prior, actually. This wasn't last week. I think we spoke about that. Oh, that was another thing. Steven, I want to show you this. GDS. You know this stock? Who knows this stock? Anybody? Girl, David, Sam? Yeah, we played it. We bought it off Action here, and we traded it. We got out of it, the couple of us that owned it. But I found out, I have no idea what they do, Steven. It says software. It's a Chinese stock, yep. But believe it or not, I get this thing from Merrill, Bank of America Merrill. They cover the name. They like the name. And I got some information on it, which looks interesting. I wanted to tell you guys. I know, Steven, you like these growth names. Hold on a second. I'm going to post it to private Twitter for anybody. Yes. What's database server stock? What is that, though? That's here. I got a whole write-up that tells you everything anyway. It says a pure play on China's data boom. This might be huge, this thing. You know what it reminds me of, Steven? Not the flow. Not the flow. Let me start that. Not the flow. But it reminds me of this guy. Here's oops. Yeah, definitely keep an eye on it. I posted on private Twitter, Steven. I'll throw it in the room too. Here. This is GDS. So this is BAML. And these initiates a buy, a pure play on China's data boom. Fastest growing data center operator on cloud and internet clients. You guys know the technology. I don't know this shit. Fast growth puts it on China's largest carrier neutral data center provider in China. And here are the numbers down here of what they're looking. Price objective set at 55, 30% upside, BAML. So at least now I know what the hell they do. Because these names catch action like SE, remember? Caught all that action, SE. Yeah, it is cloud related, James. Caught all that action. All I saw on my thing here, software. You see over here, software? And I had no idea. I still don't have any idea what they do. I don't think they're Chinese. They're like from Philippines or something. You know, but these names are talk about hot growth. You know, a lot of the American companies already have exploded. You know, another one too. Did anybody figure out what the hell is the juice on this QD? I mean, this one's nice and cheap too. Some of the underbelly China names, Steven, right? Not the big guys. It's almost like new leadership, kind of like we were talking about with the American companies, with the software companies. It seems like new leadership, potentially. Yeah, the big guys are, forget Baidu. Baidu's a disaster. But here's another one, right? I think they have earnings coming up. PDD has been seeing some action. Yeah, doing the U-turn a little bit here and seeing action. But yeah, these names are worth keeping an eye on. You know, and sometimes you find out what they do before these things explode, and you see what happens. Anybody know the QD? I didn't see. Did anybody respond? Does anybody know like the QD? What's their technology? What the hell? I mean, this thing has seen flow all year. What the hell are they buying this thing for? It's acted well all year, considering it's China. They sell puts, they buy calls. I'm going to try to figure out what the hell this QD is all about. Online provider of credit. Oh, PDD. Yeah, PDD. Oh, QD is lending as well? I think that's what PDD does. Wow, QD, provider of consumer credit. Now, do you think they're potential targets for Baba? Is that what's going on? Because Baba's supposedly getting in bigly in that sector. You think that's the juice? Interesting. Yeah, because remember like that PAGS, right? We saw the action in PAGS, and we were like, Brazilian payment services. Remember? We were like, what the hell are we going to do with that? Brazilian payment services. Now look at her. These are hot groups. I used to see the word like lending, and I used to throw it in the garbage can. Now you got to take a second look. QD August 16th. That was going to be my next question. Thank you, Sean. So, Sean, like these are the type of names. There's a couple of names I'm looking at. I haven't really pulled the trigger on anything yet, but the type of names I'm looking at, I bought Chewy, I bought some. I'm holding on to some calls. I sold the stock, I traded that. But Chewy, I bought some Octobers, little by little, because I was concerned about the market and earnings. Now, maybe step on the gas a little bit as far as looking for names. But there's definitely names out there that look interesting. Definitely names out there. And, this is where we want to start looking anyway. This is where we want to start paying attention. Most people, market gets a little rocky and they crawl under a rock and hide or short. We want to start paying attention to what names see the action, even more so if they're not doing anything price action wise. Even more so. PDD is an e-commerce platform allowing users to participate in group buying deals. I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll find out. Eventually, we'll know what the juice is there. Because, like you guys have been mentioning, they've been holding up well, and they've been seeing flow. So, and they all have, as far as the sector is concerned, the word software next to them. So that alone is a plus. That's all you got to know. All right. SE, I think, had the same thing, didn't it? Let me see. It's SE, yep, software. Hot technology there. There's one American name. I think I told you guys about it a couple of weeks ago. HQY. This one. HQY. Supposedly healthcare software. Something to that effect. And if you guys are into fundamentals, from what I'm told, crazy growth. Crazy. So this is a name, I never seen action. Well, I never seen any notable action in it. Recently, probably the best action we've seen. It wasn't anything special, but some action. Usually I buy these names no matter what. It was that going into a niner there. I think it was right here I caught it. So, already had a nice run, but now you see it's breathing a little bit. So these are some names to keep an eye on. Cron. Out of these weed names, I don't really have, you got a couple still left. Don't they have earnings or are they done? Oh, they still have earnings. They still have earnings. After earnings, Sam, I would see how the flow looks. Like Cron, there's been some nice bet. There was one nice bet in particular, but you got earnings there. That's what I'm the only thing that rubs me off on, rubs me the wrong way. Net. There's been flow there too. That's like a hidden gem you got there. You got to have patience. That's all, Stephen. Yes. And they were buying that APHA, right? The day of earnings into that gap. A lot of longer term flow in this name, APHA. And what's the other one with an A? You guys know the other little one. ACB, that's it. A lot of leaps. But at least they're dead, right? That's where if you want to buy them with some time, that's where you want to buy them. For trades, you're looking for where they're junked up, but if you're looking for like swings with some time, you want to buy them when they're dead. We'll see after earnings. I think CGC and Cron are left the ones that catch flow. And we'll see how they look. Once we get through earnings, we'll see. Yep, niner right here, right? Daily niner. When's earnings? August 14th. So you got, what, a little less than 2 weeks there, Ani. A little less than 2 weeks. All right, guys. So we head into the week where we look to participate into some weakness, all right? Intraday squeeze tomorrow. VIX put sweeps. If we see the VIX put sweepers, that's a heads up. Keep an eye on the sweeper activity, but we're in squeeze mode now. So don't let the intraday weakness throw you off whack. If they want to bring things in a little bit more, shake out some players who are looking to play the squeeze, let them do it. But we're officially in squeeze mode, and keep an eye on sweeper activity to light the match. Give us a heads up on potential squeezes. Just quickly, Friday was a real pain in the rear end, because Friday, let me go to my intraday chart, because this is the problem with these bands. Friday, I was looking to play squeeze, and there were 2 really nice spots, and there was not a sweeper to be found off niners too. So this is what I'm looking for example, okay? See, this one was early. Here's a niner, right? It doesn't bother me that there's more selling off the niner. It doesn't bother me, okay? What I want to see, I want to see a band of sweeper activity come in there, If put sweepers are still there, there's no buying, I'm not going to participate. niner or no or not. It doesn't matter. But what I like to see is, especially with these niners, you get a niner, which is telling us that selling could exhaust itself. And then, I just want to see multiple sweeps, and I'll find a spot to get in, play maybe TNA, an ETF, or a name that catches some action that can squeeze, and then, play for a squeeze. But here, there was no sweeper activity at all, very little. And then there was one more right over here, niner. This one formed, see, this is ideal right here. Look at this. And for those of you who don't have niner charts, I've been calling out the niners I'm watching anyway, in the room in private Twitter. So here you had a niner, and then you see how they can't push it any lower. But the problem again, the action, there was no sweeper activity, dead. So, there was no momentum. So even though it may squeeze, what the sweepers tell me is that there's going to be momentum created. So then I know I can get a decent move out of it, What happened was you had a headline here, I think. Or was that? Oh, no, this was into the bell, right? Here's where the action picked up, right? The IWM action and all. And then you got this, boom. So we are officially in squeeze mode, and we keep our eyes peeled and ready. Yeah, that was crazy action into the bell. Crazy. This was nuts. This rip was crazy, Roncharo. I had bought IWM SPY calls, and then I bought TNA, and I sold the TNA into this rip, and I held IWM and SPY calls. But I thought they were going to rip them into the close here, and we had a shot to even sell the calls at a nice profit, even though I was buying it for a swing. But yeah, it was crazy action. All right, so we'll see. Let them, if they push them lower, they push them lower. If there's no call buying, relax. Once call sweepers step up to the plate, we have the capabilities for a nice squeeze. So that's what we'll be watching for. All right. Enjoy the night, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Enjoy the night. I'll see you guys mañana. Good luck next week.